Hello students, welcome to a lesson through the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher, and in this lockdown period, since we are not able to go to school, children, we will be doing many lessons here online through the virtual class. So come on, let's proceed to our lesson for today.
So come on children, let's go to our lesson for today. So you can see the image on your screen, and these images depict some kind of gift. There are so many things which are wrapped and tied with a ribbon, and you can also see certain images of Christmas trees and reindeers and different kind of decoration. You can see the mistletoe. So when you look at all these pictures, the thing which comes to your mind is about the festival of Christmas. And now during any festival, we tend to give gifts to people we love. We tend to give gifts to our family, we tend to give gifts to our friends. Okay, so this particular lesson is a lesson from standard 10th in your English book. Okay, and the name of the lesson is The Gift of the Maggie, and it is lesson number 4.6 from your English textbook. So like I told you just now, this lesson has got to do with Christmas. It has got to do with certain presents which someone wants to give for Christmas, and it is also a kind of a story which is associated with two people. So come on, let's see what this lesson is about and what is the story of the gift of the Maggie. But before we go to the lesson, like we always do, let us do some exercises in the warming up part. Okay, and this time children, in the warming up part of the lesson, we have a grammar exercise. Okay, so we will be the warming up part of our lesson could go stretch a little bit. So we will have to learn some grammar in the warming up part, and then we will go to the main part of our lesson. So come on, let's start by doing the first exercise from the warming up part. So the moment you hear the word gift, what feelings do you experience? So you are supposed to complete the web with those feelings. You can say feelings, or you can also talk about words, or you can talk about concepts or ideas which come to your mind when you talk about the word gift, or when someone says gift, what are the things which come to your mind? So let us see. I have tried to put in a few words which I think is associated with gifts. So when someone says gifts, these are the words which I remember. So I think about my birthday, because it is usually on birthdays that we get a lot of gifts, isn't it? And I also think about weddings. When there are weddings, people tend to give gifts. And then I think about being happy. So when you get a gift, you're very happy. Alright, sometimes we get gifts which we want, and sometimes we get surprise gifts. So any which ways, it makes you very happy. Then I think about my parents, because whenever I think about a gift, I feel that most of the gifts that I've got are from my parents, and it stems out of their love for me. Okay, and then when we talk about gifts, one very important thing that people give away as gifts are chocolates. So my feelings remind me that yes, I love to receive chocolates as gifts. And finally, toys also. When we were younger, people used to give us toys as gifts. So the moment I hear the word gift, I get to experience a wide range of feelings associated with all these things. So now this is a subjective question. So you can fill in this grid by thinking about what you feel or what you experience when you hear the word gift. Let us take one more additional assignment over here. So just like you have picked up the word gift, you can pick up any word from the dictionary. So open the dictionary and keep turning the pages and place your finger on any word, and then you write the experiences that you have with that particular word, or what you feel when you hear that particular word. So this is another exercise in vocabulary for you. So come on, let's move on and let's go to the next exercise in your warming up part. So gifts need not be material gifts. They can be abstract and yet they can be priceless. For example, favors which your friends do to you, kindness, and the people help you when you need it most. So, all these are also gifts. It is not necessary that they should wrap something in a piece of paper, tie a ribbon, and give it to you. So, you're supposed to think of and enlist such unforgettable gifts which were given to you by your parents and grandparents. So, what are the gifts which your parents and grandparents give you? They give you a lot of love and care and attention. What about your siblings and relatives? They help you, they cooperate with you, and they support you in whichever way possible whenever you need their help. Siblings means your brothers and sisters. So, think about the other 2 points, that is, how do your friends help you? What gifts do you get from your friends other than the material gifts? And what gifts could you possibly get from strangers, that is, people whom you don't even know? Alright, so 2 points I have given you, the remaining 2 points are part of your assignment. Let's move on and let's go to the next exercise. So children, I told you that in this particular lesson, in the warming up part itself, we have an exercise in grammar. So come on, let's see what this exercise is about, and let us try and understand what the meaning of certain words are or certain grammar points are. So let's read the question. Say whether the words underlined are infinitives, participles, or gerunds. So we have a set of sentences and they have asked us whether the words which are underlined are infinitives, whether they are participles, or whether they are gerunds. So now, before you underline, you will have to quickly revise and you have to think back and try to remember what we have learnt about infinitives, participles, or gerunds in the previous classes. So come on, let me help you in order to remember this quickly. So let us talk about what infinitives are. So infinitives are words which are used to indicate the purpose of an action. So you all know that an action or a word which shows action is called as a verb. So sometimes the infinitive is used to indicate the purpose of the verb. For example, see here, he bought some flowers to give his wife. So what is the verb? What is the action? He bought some flowers. So bringing the flowers is the action. Now, what is the purpose of the action? So that is shown or that is indicated using the words to give. So he bought some flowers. Why? What was the purpose of his action of bringing flowers? To give his wife. So to give here is an example of an infinitive. Look at the next example here. I will lock the door to prevent theft. So locking the door is the action. Why will I lock the door? What is the reason? What is the purpose of me doing the action of locking the door? It is to prevent theft. So to prevent here is the infinitive. Let's talk about the next one now. Sometimes infinitives are also used as the subject in a sentence. So now we all know that in a sentence there is a subject, a verb, and an object. Having an object is an optional thing, but there is always a subject and a verb. So an infinitive is sometimes used as a subject in a sentence. So let's see how. To wait seemed foolish when decisive action was required. So what seemed foolish? To wait. So here to wait is the infinitive. To swim in that sea may be dangerous. So what is the subject of the sentence? What can be dangerous? To swim in the sea might be dangerous. Okay? So whatever phrase, whatever word answers the question what or who, that is the subject. So what is foolish? To wait is foolish. What is dangerous? To swim is dangerous. So this to wait, to swim are examples of infinitives. Infinitives can also be used as direct object of a sentence. So it can be used as a subject also, and it can sometimes be used as the object of a sentence also. So see here, I like to write in English. So what do I like? To write. Okay, everyone wanted to go. So see, we are using it as the object in a sentence. Alright, so this, children, is the meaning of infinitives and what are the different uses of infinitive. So you will see in infinitives there is always the use of a word which usually acts like the verb. For example, give, prevent, wait, swim, write, go. All these, when we in the lower classes, when we studied verbs, we have learnt these as the action words. Okay, so these are the infinitives, the usage of infinitives, and some examples of infinitives. Let us move on and let us talk about participles now. So what are participles? Participles can be used as verbs also, and they could be used as adjectives also. Now, as verbs, when they are used, then they will have a tense, they will have an aspect, they could have a voice also. If they are used as an adjective, then they could be used in the form of a gender, in the form of a number. Okay, so come on, let's look at some examples to clear the idea for you. So participle as a verb. So sometimes the present participle is referred to as the ing form of the verb. So present participle means verb plus the ing. So sometimes the present participle is used as a verb. For example, look at the sentence. The sun was shining, so I went for a walk. You can think of so many other sentences where the participle is a verb. Okay, the girl was running, so she stumbled and fell. So running, shining, all these are examples of the participle as a verb. Now, the participle can also appear as a adjective. So let us see how. So a participle, the verb form ending in d, ed, or ing, that is used as an adjective. Okay, so when the verb form ends with d, ed, or even ing, sometimes it is used as an adjective. Let us look at a few examples which will clear out this doubt for you. So see, the fleeing criminal, you could complete the sentence by saying anything. The fleeing criminal was caught by the police. The fleeing criminal met with an accident. Okay, so this fleeing criminal, so the word fleeing is describing the noun criminal. So you can see here how it is used as an adjective. The participle is used as an adjective. Look at one more example. Falling trees are dangerous to hikers. So we are not saying that the tree is falling right now, but we are talking about trees which fall. Falling trees. So what kind of trees? Falling trees. So that is why it is an example of a participle used in the form of an adjective. Now we go to the third point that we have to do here. We have to talk about gerunds. So what is a gerund? It is a noun made from a verb. So see here. Now the verb here became the infinitive. The verb became the participle. And the participle was sometimes the verb and sometimes it was the adjective. Now a gerund is again a noun which is made from a verb. So what is the structure? Its structure is verb plus ing. Okay, so when you write a verb plus an ing and it acts like a noun, then that is called as a gerund. For example, see here, reading helps you learn English. So are you reading here actually? No one is reading here, but reading here is the activity that we are talking about. Okay, reading helps you learn English. her favorite hobby is reading. So is she reading right now? No. But we are saying that what is her favorite hobby? It is reading. So here again reading is a noun. I enjoy reading. Again reading is a noun. So in all these cases it is an example of a gerund. Okay, so a gerund means a noun which is made from a verb. So to a verb you add ing, and when it acts like a noun, then that is an example of a gerund. So now in participles also you have ing, in gerunds also you have ing. So how will you find out the difference between a participle and a gerund? Both present participles and gerunds, they end in ing, isn't it? We saw just now, we talked about the running criminal or the fleeing criminal. We talked about the falling trees, isn't it? There were the ing, but that was not a gerund, that was an adjective. So how will you find out what the difference between a participle and a gerund is? So let us look at this example. Walking rather than running is much better for recovering athletes. So see here, we are talking about walking as an activity, we are talking about running as an activity, and we are also saying that walking and running, these two activities, so remember these two are gerunds here. Okay, so walking and running, these two are activities and they are nouns, hence they are gerunds, is much better for the recovering athletes. For whom? For athletes who are recovering. So here it is a participle, isn't it? So let's see in detail. See here, gerunds are walking and running, because here no one is walking, no one is running. We are talking about walking and running as an activity. And participle, why? Because we are describing the athlete. What kind of athlete? A recovering athlete. Okay, so this is how you can pick up the difference between a participle and gerund. Now children, let me tell you at this point that English language, especially the grammar in it, is a little bit tricky. So you have to put your mind to it. You have to read it once, twice. Now in this case it is a video, so you can replay it. You see it once, twice, try to understand it with a lot of concentration. Definitely you will be able to pick out the differences. The ideas are a little bit confusing, I know, but then if you pay attention, if you try to understand, I think it will be easy for you. So now come to the exercise, and I've underlined, I've numbered the underlined words so that you know which one we are talking about. So here say whether the words underlined are infinitives, participles or gerunds. So sentence number 1, the athletes wanted to take part in the running race. So come on, tell me, to take, what is it? So to take is an infinitive, and running a race, what kind of race? It is a running race. So running here is a participle because it is describing the race. What kind of race it is? Is it a walking race? No, it's a running race. Come on, let's go to sentence number 2. Would you like to eat at the dining table? Now the spelling of dining here has only one N, children, but these are the sentences which I've picked up directly from your textbook. Okay, so just remember, dining has one N in it. Would you like to eat at the dining table? So to eat here again is an infinitive, and dining table, what kind of table? Dining table. So dining here is the participle. Come to question number 3. Reading is good for the mind and soul. So take up reading books. So the first reading is a gerund because it is an activity, and the second reading, you try to find out what kind of a word is it. Is it an infinitive? Is it a participle? Or is it a gerund? And the remaining 2 sentences again are for you to solve. I like to eat fruits rather than eating sweets. Listening and speaking sharpen your language skills. So think and decide whether they are infinitives, participles, or gerunds. So halfway I have come, and the remaining half is for you to do. Let's move on, and now let's come to our lesson for today. So the name of our lesson is The Gift of the Maggie. Now here, as I described earlier, there is something to do with the Christmas tree, with Christmas, with gifts, and also this is a story about two people, a couple, a husband and a wife, and their love for each other, and how far they can go in order to sacrifice their things for their loved one. So this is not only about love, it is also about giving, it is also about the kind of sacrifices that you can make for your loved ones. Okay, so now let us discuss about the meaning of the word the Maggie, because the name of the lesson is what? The Gift of the Maggie. So what is the meaning of the Maggie? Now when we talk about Maggie, we remember instant noodles, isn't it? Because that is the most important, that is the most common word, Maggie, that we have heard. That Maggie is Maggi. Now this Maggie is Magi. So what is the meaning of the Maggie? The Maggie are biblical characters, that is, they are characters from the Bible, and they are said to have visited Jesus Christ after his birth, and they carried a lot of gifts for Jesus Christ in the form of gold, in the form of frankincense, and in the form of myrrh. So these are all things which are very exotic, okay, so which are very valuable. So these are people, these are the characters from the Bible who went to visit Jesus after his birth with a lot of gifts. So they are the Maggie. So they are the noble souls. All right. So in this lesson also, Maggie is there, but it not in the form of these characters. All right. So Maggie is anyone who gives you a valuable gift. So let us see what is the gift of the Maggie in this particular lesson. But before that, let's talk about the author of the story. That is a person who wrote the story. His name is William Sidney Potter. He was popularly called as O. Henry. That was his pen name. He used to write under the name O. Henry. Okay, and he lived from 1862 to 1910. Now let us understand a little bit about O. Henry or William Sidney Potter's life. So this is again an image from your textbook, children. So O. Henry or William Sidney, now here it is written Potter, it is not Potter, it is Potter. P-O-R-T-E-R, Potter. Better known by his pen name, O. Henry was an American short story writer. So he used to write short stories, okay. He was famous for his art and his stories, which had very surprising endings. So most of his stories, they had endings which gave you, which included an element of surprise. That is, you did not expect the story to end in this way. The Gift of the Maggie is a story of an impoverished young couple who have no money, yet they wish to buy each other Christmas gifts. Alright, so impoverished means what? Poor couple. Couple who do not have a lot of money, but they have strong emotions for each other, they love each other a lot, and they want to buy some kind of gift for each other for Christmas. So Christmas or any other festival we have, we take it as an opportunity to show our love towards our loved ones. Okay, so let's see what William Sidney Potter's story is about. So there are certain characters in the story. So there is Della. She is a loving, warm, selfless and devoted woman to her husband. So she wants to give some kind of gift to her husband on the occasion of Christmas. There is Jim. Now Jim is Della's husband who works for long hours, but unfortunately he doesn't make a lot of money, and that is why they are both impoverished. That is, their financial condition is not very good. Then we have the character of Madame Sofroni. She is the owner of the shop where Della goes and sells off her hair. So Della has got really long and beautiful tresses which she sells off in order to buy a gift for her husband. So these are the characters in the story. Now we will also try to understand the plot of the story before ending this video here for today, and we will pick up in the next video and do the remaining part of the exercises. But before that, let us see what the plot of the story is, or what the content in the story is, or what is the storyline like. So there is this person called James Dillingham Young and his wife Della. They are a young couple who are very much in love with each other but can barely afford their one room apartment due to their very bad economic situation. So very bad economic situation was described using the word impoverished. Okay? For Christmas, Della decides to buy Jim a chain which costs $20 for his prized pocket watch given to him by his father. So now, children, we hardly make use of wristwatches because all of us have got mobile phones. But once upon a time, people used to make use of pocket watches. Sometimes they used to tie a chain to the watch and they used to hang it around their waist also. So this kind of a pocket watch, James had a watch of that kind. It was given to him by his father, and it was a really vintage watch. It was a really antique watch. To raise funds, she has her long hair cut off and sold to make a wig. Now, you know, people who have less hair or who have no hair at all, they make use of artificial hair fixtures which are called as wigs. So these wigs are obtained from people with long hair. So sometimes people with long hair, they have to cut off their hair for various reasons. So this hair is made use of to make wigs. So Della had long hair, and she went and she sold off that long hair for $20. Why? Because she wanted to buy Jim a gift. Meanwhile, Jim in return decides to sell his watch to buy Della a beautiful set of combs made out of tortoise shell for her lovely knee-length brown hair. So see the irony? She sacrificed something which was very close to her heart, that is her long hair, her long lovely tresses, and he in turn, he sacrificed, or he was getting ready to sell the watch which his father had given him as a gift. So Jim sold his watch, and he bought a beautiful set of comb which was made out of tortoise shell for her hair. Although each one of them is disappointed to find that the gift they chose are useless now. So the chain which Della chose for James's watch has got no use now because the watch itself has been sold, whereas the combs which James has bought for Della is also of no use now because Della has cut off her hair. They are disappointed now. See, after you make such a big effort, you go out of the way to please someone, to buy someone something, and when you realize that that thing is of no use to that person, you are basically disappointed. So they are also disappointed and they feel that the gift is useless, but they are also happy because it represents or it shows the kind of love that these two people have for each other. So that is the plot or the story of the gift of the Maggie. Okay, so it is a story about how Della sells off her hair to buy a chain for Jim's gold watch, which he has already sold off in order to buy combs for Della's hair. So children, will be all in this lesson today. We have done the warming up part of the lesson where we looked at various vocabulary exercises, and we also did an exercise in English grammar where we talked about the meanings of infinitives, participles and gerunds and how they are used, and also the various examples. We also talked about the author here, O. Henry, and we talked about the plot of the story. So when we meet next time, that is when I put up the next video, we will do and talk about the remaining part of this lesson. That is, there are some more exercises in grammar and vocabulary. So we will look at that when we meet next time.
So children, wasn't that a wonderful video? And did you enjoy watching it? So if you want to watch more such videos in future, then please like this video and also subscribe to our channel, the MCGM Portal for Education, and also hit the bell button so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video here. Thank you so much for now. Let's meet again soon.